Playoff basketball, gotta go 1-0. We know who the opponent is. It's Grand Valley State. I know you've had success against them this year, but Grand Valley always turns it on late in the year. What are some of the things that you're teaching the guys about Grand Valley this time of year?
Yeah, I think I just listened to on my walk over here my old boss Brian Wardle at Bradley, and he said you can't go into the tournament happy. And then they just had a big win over Northern Iowa, and it was like, yeah, yep, exactly what we're trying to. In a way, everything I don't love in a matchup is happening. We beat them by 30 or whatever last time. We're 2-0 against them. Talent-wise, they probably are at least our equal. I think they're Grand Valley. So I think in general terms, we have to have that edge and not let the fact that we had some success against them cost us our edge.
Grand Valley, you talked about the physicality of that basketball team earlier this year. That really sprung you guys to a different level of competitiveness and got you guys kind of out of a funk. How do you use that as your motivation about playing hard, playing tough, and playing with that tenacity to get that win?
Well, I think we showed that if we play at like this crazy energy level and massive toughness and can pressure them and fight back on some of the stuff that they're really good at, it at least has proven that we have a chance to have some success against them. And I don't think they were necessarily ready for it last time. I'm positive they will be this time, and I think that's the fun part about tournaments, and it's the fun part about conference tournaments is you're playing an opponent for the third time, and in a way you don't want to overreact to what happened the previous two times, but it is part of the psychological part of it is the two matchups previously set the tone for the third matchup in a lot of ways, and I don't know what that all means. I know they'll be ready, and I know that they have recruits that are higher level than any other team in our league, and will have some of the highest level recruits in the country. So they're going to have the crazy talent. They're going to be ready. So what do we have to do? We have to be even more ready and even more dialed in, and hopefully the 3-0 to end the year doesn't work against us in a way of making us go, we got things figured out. And at the same time, hopefully we do have some confidence going into this.
How tough was that game on Saturday, playing 3 games in 6 days and overcoming a 17-point deficit and keeping it around that 8 to 11 point mark in that in the second half?
Yeah, I mean we were bad. We were tired. We were lazy on defense. We couldn't make a shot, whether that was our legs or just bad shooting. And I thought, we didn't play well at all. But you're down 9 with 3 minutes to go, and instead of quitting, we just made the plays that needed to be made to win the game. And I'm hoping that we've learned the lessons of the loss with a win, because we pretty much lost the game and then stole it at the end. And hopefully it's that perfect scenario for us where we kind of got that edge back because we did play so poorly, but yet still leave there with a victory. The really interesting, kind of numbers thing about our team that I didn't even realize until after last weekend, the last 10 games of the year, our offense has been better than it ever was last year, and it was way better than our last 10 games of last year, which I think it blew my mind. No Max, no Carson, no Riley, and our offense is actually better than it was last year, the last 10 games, the first 20 little less so. The defense is elite early, and that was what kept us in it, has fallen off and has been bad the last 5 games in particular. So can we get that early season defense back in the late season offense? If you can do those two things, we have a chance to make a run. But I think I didn't even realize that because we're playing so slow, but when it comes to actual efficiency, which is all that matters, our offense is back and better than ever. So hopefully we can keep that going into the tournament and then get the defense ratcheted up.
Think you guys need to continue playing slow, or is it still?
Yes. Yes. No, I do. I think at some point about middle of the year, we just stopped. We stopped trying to play like the previous versions of our team, and we stopped trying to be up and down. And we said we're going to run a set every possession, unless we get a steal or a long rebound. And the only exception to that is if people crash hard on us, which Grand Valley might. Sometimes we put little runs where we're like, if you want to crash, we're going to just go crazy fast for a little spurt. But we've just said we're going to get in a set every time, and there's not a lot of there's not a lot of freedom to start possessions. We're holding up a board, we're telling them exactly what to do, and once we went to that, again, the results have been awesome, but it's not the plays that are working. They're working normal, same way they always have. What we're getting really good at is being able to run an action, and then out of that action flow once we get the pieces moving. And I think because we have so many smart players that just don't know each other, well, if they are told exactly what to do for the first 10 seconds, at that point, instinct just takes over. So it's really worked for this group. Took us a little bit to figure out that perfect way to do it. But I don't see us changing that part of it going forward, because I think that's been probably the thing we've been most successful at this second semester.
A game like Saturday has to get you ready for tournament play a little bit, knowing there are those nights where you just don't have it,
Yep.
but you have to find a way.
Yep.
Did you see that over the last, 10 minutes, 3 minutes of that game?
100%. And I think when I sent our guys the box score of when we won the conference championship 2 years ago, the 3 playoff games. First game we held Saginaw at, I believe, 26%. The first game we held Saginaw in the 30s. Then we held Ferris to 26%. And then Tech in the finals, I think, shot 45 on us, but we forced 15 turnovers in a really low possession game. Even that year when we were we were some high-powered offense, we won those 3 games ugly, and we didn't play very well on offense in those 3 games either. I think you got to realize the third time around, ugly wins in March, and the teams that embrace that are always the teams that win in March, and that's why the same people win in March. And I think this year's team has that mentality, but we haven't done it lately with the defensive first attitude. So if we can get back to that, I think that's the whole theme. The whole key is we got to be a tough, nasty, gritty team. If we're going to have any chance of winning 3 in a row, which is what the goal is, we just got to be nastier, tougher, and more defensive focused. And then this offensive beauty that we're starting to play with, that'll complement it nicely, and that can be a side thing. But it's got to start with that defensive mindset.
You brought it up. Last couple of years, Tech was an 8 seed, got to the finals. You saw Ferris, Grand Valley last year. How tough is this conference, especially in playoff mode? And I feel like it's really anybody's tournament right now. Just because you're 1 seed, I don't think that guarantees you anything.
No, I think the last few years have proven the GLIAC tournament's a wild thing that's wide open. I don't know where this all is going to fall, and we have to worry about Wednesday. But I think the best thing that you can point to is the GLIAC has at least 3 teams in the tournament. We would be 4 if we got in. Right now, Missouri S&T is pretty good, so those are 4. 5 and 6 are UMSL and Upper Iowa. We played UMSL and Upper Iowa on a neutral floor. We beat both. If this wasn't the D2 tournament, if this was a D1 type tournament, common sense would say we're clearly in because we beat 5 and 6 on a neutral floor. And I think that speaks to where the GLIAC's at is when we actually play those teams. Ferris beats Findlay by 30. We beat Upper Iowa in a close game, beat UMSL handily on neutral floors. It's not even a debate this year. The GLIAC is the best conference by leaps and bounds, and I wish the tournament stuff worked differently. We'll email every GMAC and GLVC school again and beg to play them. We'll even go down by most of them, even without a return trip, because I think over time we've had a pretty darn good record against those schools. And but I think that's what makes the league so tough is we might be on the outside looking in, but we beat the second and third best teams in the GLVC, which is right now a better conference than the GMAC. So it is what it is, but there's a lot of talent in there, and Grand Valley, Wayne, and Parkside I think would do pretty well if they weren't in the GLIAC as well.
What is the scenario? You think you have to win all 3?
All 3 obviously guarantees it.
Yeah.
If we win 1 and we lose to Tech, I'm going to be frustrated we're not in. If we win 2 and beat Tech, I think it would. I think there's a real chance if the regional committee doesn't put us in at that point, the national committee is going to override it, because the only reason that you could you just would have to make up so much stuff to not have us in, because those other schools that we'd be competing against have almost 0 wins over regional ranked opponents, like literally 0 in some cases. So at that point we'd have 3, and there's just almost no chance that they could leave us out if we win 2. and it's Tech. You know, and crazy things happen in our league. Like Roosevelt could beat Tech, and if it's Roosevelt, now we have to win that final game for sure. But if we could get 2, I really think at the end of the day, the common sense will probably be in. But at the same time, I just win them. I mean, I think that's what you got to go into it. It's really similar to the year we did win the conference tournament. We kind of knew after we won the semis we were in, but you still were like, I don't want to leave this to chance. Let's just handle it ourselves. But saying that, I think the Grand Valley game, I don't really feel that different about almost any of the games we'll be playing in. I think they're all even-ish games, and we could win any of them, and we could lose any of them, and that's kind of the fun part. Is I don't think there's any 90-10 games or 70-30 games even. I think these are all within the margins of a coin flip, and you know we gotta earn the right to have tails come up 3 times in a row.
How hard is it psychologically to keep them one game at a time at this point?
I think actually easier in the sense of we know we're done. So that you have that, like, if we lose, we're done. And so I think it's hard actually to focus on the next thing when you know it's over if you lose. I mean, and I don't mind that. I don't mind that feeling of if you lose, it's over, because I think it is the right way to keep them in that one game at a time mindset, knowing that we're just fighting to have another game at this point. And I think that's how we're going to approach Grand Valley, and if we're fortunate enough to win, that'll be the mindset heading into the Tech game, is let's just survive another day. And if we survive another day, you just keep fighting that until, you know, it's over and it ends. And unfortunately, unless you're the national champion, it always ends. But let's just not let it be tomorrow.